The Last of the 20 by Joseph N. Wdowski. Survive Peace. 2 hours down Route 15, known in Connecticut as the Merritt Parkway, Miller stopped in disbelief. Are you picking up what I am? I have been for almost an hour. It seems we have a small herd of cattle ahead of us. 124 confirmed. Computer, where would cattle come from? Also bioscan the animals ahead of us. The animals before us are a wild tribe of bovines. Most likely they are the descendants of dairy cows from Fieldview Farm, Derby Avenue, Derby. Dairy cows cannot survive well without human care. Yet cows come to maturity at the age of 2. Over 25 years, they technically could be 12th generation. Those calves that had reverted to the wild version of the animal have survived and flourished. Enough. Miller turned to 124. Well, we know how the Branch family got a cow for milk. Miller continued approaching the bovines until he had a visual contact. He stopped again, spotting a bull with a harem of cows. That bull doesn't seem happy with us approaching. The robot pointed out, "Can you take it out with your rifle?" Easily, but unnecessary. Miller responded while walking slowly towards a small herd that was grazing on the road just in front of them. The bull, though, shifted his body to face Miller and placing his cows and calves behind him. The animal lowered and lifted its head, brandishing his long, impressive horns. I think it might be necessary." 124 responded with a bit of nervousness in his mechanical voice. "I don't want to needlessly kill the animal," Miller said, yet still unslinging his pepper in case the bull did charge him. "Can you use your directed crowd control audio weapon?" "Best to get behind me." The robot moved forward until he was in front of Miller. A directed loud piercing sound was released by the robot. The bull and cows, clearly irritated by the sound, quickly turned away and ran off as fast as they could. Miller's helmet sensors showed them getting off the parkway at the first off-ramp. "Well done." Miller complimented 124. Shucks, it was nothing." The robot coyly answered. 2 hours later they reached the overpass above Route 8. Miller examined his GPS. "I think we should head north on Route 8. "Why?" the robot asked. "We can hook up to Derby Avenue. Derby Avenue enters New Haven through a less dense area. It would lead us directly into Yale." Miller explained. "Sounds like a logical plan. Mutants seem to like to nest in more dense areas for some reason." 124 agreed. Harry and his cronies flew in, landing on the overpass railing. "You'll run into the mole men that way." Harry crowed. "I thought you said they are in the Connecticut Valley." Miller questioned Harry. "Do you have a thing for overpasses?" he added, realizing the last time they saw the birds were at an overpass. "No, it's just a coincidence." Harry responded. "Yes, they are mostly in the Connecticut Valley, but there are a few in the Naugatuck River Valley too, that reaches down into Derby." Harry warned. "So, it is not where they are concentrated?" Miller asked. "Well, no, it's not, but they do travel in the daytime," Harry said as his cronies bobbed their heads in agreement. "Do they ever disagree with you?" 124 asked. Harry looked at his followers and then at the robot. "Why would they?" "Because I am sure you are not always right," the robot responded. Ignoring the robot, Harry turned his attention back to Miller. "Are you an idiot?" "Excuse me. How could you walk away from those lovely young women? Are you gay?" Harry asked. "Not as if there's anything wrong with it, but I would not have thought you were until you left the Hi-Ho Hotel." "Bird's eye view again?" 124 asked. "Yes." Harry turned back to Miller. "You had it set there. I still have a mission." Miller began walking towards the off-ramp to get on Route 8 northbound. Harry and his cronies flew to the railing ahead of Miller. "Boy, they really brainwashed you. Don't you have any self-interests? 3 lovely young women without any man, except for their father. A father that liked you. Miller ignored Harry and kept walking down the ramp. As 124-year-old passed Harry and his group, he told the bird, "I don't think he wants to talk to you anymore." Traveling north on Route 8, 3 hours later, brought them through the small city of Shelton on the south bank of the Housatonic River. The Route 8 bridge to cross the river into Derby was out. Weather and time finally collapsed the bridge into the river below. Miller, consulting his GPS, realized they would have to detour northwest through the Shelton downtown area to make their way to the Derby-Shelton Bridge that he could see from his position was still intact. Computer, Shelton, Connecticut. Shelton, Connecticut is located on the eastern edge of Fairfield County at the juncture of the Housatonic and the Naugatuck Rivers. It was considered part of the greater New York metropolitan area. It was originally settled in 1639 as part of the town of Stratford. In 1789, it was incorporated as Huntington. By 1882, it was renamed as Shelton. A dam and the Housatonic River gave Shelton water power, making it into a manufacturing center for boats, pins, textiles, and pianos. Later on, Shelton produced rubber metal. Enough. Why do you bother asking your helmet computer such questions? The robot did not understand the need for information on a world that no longer exists. The here and now is much more important to understand. It is very difficult to understand the here and now if you don't understand history. One of my non-military instructors told us, "Fools never learn from their mistakes. The intelligent learn from their mistakes, and the wise learn from the mistakes of others, which is why the wise study history." Miller answered, "Besides, look at these ruins. Aren't you a bit curious what they must have been like before the destruction of humanity? I was built before the virus hit. You forget that I actually do remember how this world was when people were still building, creating, advancing, and maintaining civilization." The robot reminded him, "I was created in the shelter. I was trained and educated in the shelter. My first-hand experience was when we were sent out to discover a post-apocalyptic world. I often wonder what I would have been like if I lived before the virus devastated humanity. First of all, they never would have created you pre-virus. If you did exist, most likely you would have been like Julius when he was a young man in Taiwan fighting the communist Chinese." 124 guessed. "I see your point. Well, I'm more curious about life not just before the virus, but also before the South China Sea War, when people lived in peace." Miller backed up to take the off-ramp so they could travel northwest on Howe Avenue. "You were never meant for times of peace. Like I was built for war, you were created for war too." The robot pointed out the hard facts to Miller. "You were not meant to live in times of peace. I don't think you could survive peace. If you were meant for peaceful times, you wouldn't have left the Branch Sisters. You have stayed with them, not continue on what is most likely a suicidal mission."